Usually, when we look at the photos of astronauts in space, we can see that they're sort of attached to the spacecraft. But there was one brave astronaut who took a wild step into the great unknown without any safety line connecting him to the shuttle. This brave man was Bruce McCandless, and he did that stunt back in 1984. How did he come back, you may ask? He did this cool trick using a nitrogen jetpack, which NASA called the Manned Maneuvering Unit. At first, he tried out some test maneuvers in the Challenger's payload bay, and only after he made sure it was all right did McCandless decide to go for it and glide a staggering 320 feet away from the shuttle. A bit of sad stats here. Out of the 430 people who have made the leap into space, 18 have sadly lost their lives, which gives us a fatality rate of just over 4%. With these numbers, it's safe to say that space shuttles are the least safe means of transport out there. Duh. Alright, let's make it a tad brighter. If we crunch the numbers a bit better, we can get a smaller percentage. But how? Well, 4% is a bit misleading because when we count, we take all the space flights. However, some people flew several times, which reduced the probability. With over 600 seats filled across 113 shuttle flights, the true fatality rate for shuttle missions is actually closer to 2%. Let's test your general knowledge now, shall we? So, what was the first living thing ever sent to space? If your answer is a monkey, you aren't right. Those who said dogs, sorry you guys, but it's not correct either. On the 9th of July, 1946, fruit flies became the first living creatures to make it to space during a suborbital V-2 rocket flight. Then, on the 20th of February, 1947, these little guys safely returned from their journey, opening the door for future human space exploration. Before, we sent to space mammals like the rhesus monkey, Albert II, in 1949, or the famous space dogs. Scientists spent a lot of time studying fruit flies to see how they reacted to radiation and the conditions of space travel. Researchers started using fruit flies for experiments back in the 1910s. Guess why? Because we humans share a lot of genes with these yucky pests. Imagine hearing some creepy music all of a sudden, when there's nothing but darkness around you and nobody is there to help you. Right, now imagine how elevated this experience was for astronauts who heard some creepy music in their space shuttle. Months before the moon landing, Apollo 10 astronauts were orbiting the moon, testing equipment, when they heard strange audio noises. Astronaut Eugene Cernan noted the eerie sounds, joking they were like weird music. At that moment, the astronauts didn't have contact with mission control. They were over the moon's dark side. Although the noises resembled something from a sci-fi film, NASA downplayed them as they were focused on the astronauts' mental health. Despite years of speculation, the source of the sounds remains unknown, with theories ranging from radio interference to charged particle activity. Cernan later remarked that they didn't take it seriously and didn't report it after the mission. Chances are, we've already received messages from new friends from other galaxies, but we just failed to understand them. In August 1977, some astronomers using the Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio University picked up a strange narrow-band radio signal from the constellation Sagittarius that lasted for 72 seconds. The signal buzzed at a frequency of 1,420 megahertz, which is significant because it matches the natural emissions from hydrogen. This frequency had been flagged by scientists almost 2 decades earlier as a likely choice for extraterrestrial civilizations trying to reach out to us. They dubbed it the WOW signal after one of the astronomers wrote "WOW" on their printout. We've never heard that signal again, and no one has been able to explain its origins satisfactorily. After spending about a month in space, astronauts start losing quite a lot of skin from the bottoms of their feet, especially those tough calluses they've built up over time. One astronaut even called mission control in a bit of a panic when he noticed a chunk of his heel drifting off in zero gravity. But no worries, as the old calluses peel away, new ones spring up from the tops of their feet. They need that grip to hold on to all the restraints, kind of like airborne trapeze artists. Going number 1 and seeing blood is as scary as it sounds, and yes, in the weightlessness of space, blood doesn't settle in the lower body in the same way it does on Earth. This can lead to some alarming situations on board. Natural urges are universal, regardless of location. There are 2 main reasons why astronauts are unable to use traditional toilets in space. First, water is an extremely valuable resource aboard a spacecraft. Second, there's no gravitational flow of water in space. The drinkable water on a space station is contained in pouches and is used accordingly. In a weightless environment, a specialized device with suction and disposable bags is used for waste collection, with the storage being replaced every 10 days. Additionally, spacecraft are equipped with complex systems designed to recycle and filter liquid waste, converting it back into usable water for the astronauts' daily needs. As if that wasn't enough, spending an extended period floating around in space brings another challenge. The body may lose its bursa sacs, those handy little cushions that sit between our hip joints. While this may not pose an immediate issue in the zero-gravity environment, returning to solid ground can turn the simple act of sitting down, whether in a chair or on a toilet, into a real struggle. The fluid shifts that contribute to blood-related issues don't stop there. They can also wreak havoc on astronauts' sinuses, creating a constant feeling of congestion. It feels like living in a stuffy room all the time, where relief seems just out of reach. Thus, the challenges of long-term space travel add up, making the experience as daunting as it is thrilling. Another challenge astronauts run into is vision loss, also known as ocular syndrome, which sounds all sciencey. While the exact cause is still a bit of a mystery, it's thought that extra pressure on the brain can mess with both the retinas and optic nerves. And here's a fun fact: it mostly affects guys. By the way, you might assume that shutting your eyes in space means it's pitch black, but that's not the case. Because of high levels of radiation, astronauts can still see bright lights when they zip through certain parts of their orbit. It's a pretty strange phenomenon that keeps them on their toes, even with their eyes closed. Switching gears, let's talk about bone health in space. It turns out that being weightless can really take a toll on astronauts' bones. Like, they can lose up to 2% of their bone mass every month, which is pretty wild. But the good news? They've come up with new exercise routines that help fight off that bone loss. So, while space travel definitely has its challenges, researchers are working hard to keep astronauts in tip-top shape as they explore the universe. The Big Crunch is a cool theory about how the universe might end, and it's basically the opposite of the Big Bang. So, imagine the universe expanding for ages, but then it hits the brakes and starts collapsing in on itself, maybe even forming a huge black hole. Scientists are looking into this by checking out the universe's density. If it's too dense, such a collapse might really happen. At first, people thought that gravity would eventually take over and stop the expansion from the Big Bang. But then we found this mysterious thing called dark energy, which is actually speeding up the universe's expansion. Because of that, it seems like the Big Crunch is pretty unlikely. Right now, the evidence shows that dark energy is here to stay, so the universe will just keep on expanding forever.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.